Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by your power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show, here with your host, Andy Neer. I host this show, and I also own a commercial roofing company in Michigan called Empire Contractors. So I actually was on a roof for about, 8 or 10 hours today, commercial roof, doing my thing. And before this podcast, I've been spending the last 10 minutes trying to scrub all the garbage off my hands. So I definitely like to still get my hands dirty. But today on this episode, I have a guy that I've been wanting to chat with about the demands that we have in our industry with physical fitness and health. And so today I have Kyle Devlin as our guest. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
You're a personal trainer there in Kansas City, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing it for about 8 years now.
Okay. So I'm just going to dive right in and then have you just explain what you do and why is it important to have good health and good exercise and what do you do?
So I work with people in person primarily. That's kind of where I started as far as my training journey goes. Kudos to you for doing a podcast 8 or 10 hours after work. That's awesome.
It's constantly a thing. I'm walking my crew and I'm like, hey guys, you got this, because I gotta be on in like 45 minutes. So
I'll bet, man. You're a busy guy. I mean, kudos to you. I only trained like 3 or 4 people today. Friday is kind of a light day for me. So yeah, it's my hat to you. The reason I got into training, the reason I started doing this whole thing, I used to be a musician, so kind of like completely separate industries. But I'm 36. I used to be about 65 to about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. So around the 2010 mark, I started making my health more of a priority, and I started exercising. And I went through a bit of a physical transformation. And at first, I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was kind of just going to the gym, and I'd walk on the treadmill for a half an hour, just hit that quick start button, because I was a little intimidated by the gym setting and all the equipment and everything. And then one of my good friends at the time, he was kind of going through a bit of a physical transformation, and I asked him, I said, what are you doing? It's clearly working for you. So, can you help me out? Can you help a friend out a little bit? And he had just started working out at a locally owned gym here in KC. And he said, just come with me. It's really, low key atmosphere. People, all walks of life are in there. It's a locally owned place, not a big, corporate gym setting. And just, try it out. Let's start seeing if we can help you out and see if you can get some results. And so that's exactly what I did. I started working out at this locally owned gym, and I actually became pretty good friends with some of the trainers there. And one day I walked in and I was talking to one of the owners, one of the co-owners, and he said that they were expanding. They were opening up another location. And so the job that I had at the time, I wasn't really a huge fan of what I was doing, and I wasn't really utilizing any of my strengths. And I was transitioning from music into something else. And so I just asked him, like, hey, are you guys hiring? He said, yeah, we are actually. We need a front desk attendant. And so in conjunction with working at the new facility, I also started the journey of like getting certified in personal training. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth and started training some of my clients. And yeah, I've been doing it for 8 years now.
Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. Coming into this podcast, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to interview this guy and kind of feel like out of my sorts because I don't exercise. I don't eat bad, but I don't really eat that healthy. And
okay.
And I try to stay away from some of the garbage stuff. But I had a bag of Cheetos last night. It's like I don't really watch what I'm supposed to be. But so I'm thinking I can't really relate. But then I'm thinking, that's probably where 95% of the guys that I talk to in commercial roofing are at. You know, they're grabbing lunch out of the gas station or the fast food joint every day at lunch, or,
Sure.
you know, I don't even really see very many guys bring lunches anymore. I mean, they eat on the run all the time, and their exercise is their job. And so I thought, you know, I'm probably right where most of our listeners are going to be as far as health and fitness. So
Sure.
speak to a little bit about why it's important in our industry, construction in general, but, you know, roofing contractors, we're lifting and moving stuff all day long. Speak to that. Why is it important for us to watch our fitness and health?
So, I mean, you said earlier that you don't exercise, but I mean, you do. You've got a really, really active job. So it's kind of funny, like when I first meet with somebody, one of the first things I ask them is like, you know, what do you do for a living? Not just because I want to get to know them on, you know, a personal level, but because I want to know how active their job is, you know? So, you know, most people in the States, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent as people, you know, do jobs that require a computer or they're sitting at a desk for most of the day. You know, those people tend to have a pretty sedentary lifestyle. So you and your crew, you guys have a really active lifestyle, and we're going to factor that in. I've worked with construction workers before, and if I'm writing up them, you know, if I'm writing a workout routine for them to follow, I don't necessarily want them to kill themselves in the gym, you know, 5 or 6 days out of the week because of the demands of their job. You know, they've already got an incredibly, you know, active and sometimes stressful gig. The other caveat is, you know, sometimes because you have such an active job, you can be a little bit more lenient with your calories. You know, the person that sits for 9 hours a day is not going to be able to be as lenient with their calories or what they're consuming on a day-to-day basis as maybe somebody who's got a pretty active job. So you've got a little bit of leniency there. I mean, because you're just burning calories throughout the entire day. But, you know, I think from an overall standpoint, it's good for everybody to engage in some type of physical activity or some type of exercise, especially those who are, you know, living kind of a sedentary life where they sit for the majority of the day. Because people will sit for 9 hours a day at work and then they'll go home and immediately sit for a few more hours, or, you know, sit for the remainder of the day. So, you know, everybody can definitely benefit from having some physical activity. And there's just a myriad of benefits as to what happens when you are physically active.
So next question, how should business owners prioritize health for their staff and crews? I know a lot of people are thinking right now about their own health and their own priorities. And, you know, that's, you have to care about that on one level, but if you're in charge of 5, 10 or 20 employees, how should owners prioritize that for their workers? Does it make sense?
Yeah. No, I think it's gonna be context specific, you know, depending on the industries there. But you know, in your case, it might just be something as simple as, you know, like showing the mechanics of a squat, you know, how you do want to lift with your legs rather than your lower lumbar, because you know, if you pick up something heavy with your lower back, where that's the primary emphasis, you know, you could potentially hurt yourself. So just being, you know, having like safety measures in place, you know, making sure that that's in, you know, weekly meetings or monthly, quarterly meetings, that sort of thing. You know, I used to work in corporate fitness. I worked for Cerner, which is a big health software, medical software company here in Kansas City. And they, you know, from a corporate standpoint, they're really good at sort of trying to get their population to be physically active. They've got gyms in all their facilities and all their campuses. And they set up like wellness programs where if you track your steps, you might get some extra HRA points, which means you save money on your healthcare. So that may not pertain to every single industry, but I think that's a really kind of progressive way to think about it, because, you know, if they keep their population healthier, then their population is ultimately going to be less stressed. There's going to be less absenteeism. You're going to have a happier population and a much more productive population too. People that work for you are going to be a lot more productive and they're going to get more stuff done.
We'd like to take just a quick break to thank our sponsor, Top Roof Marketing, a full-service marketing group that specializes in the commercial roofing industry. If you're looking to boost the commercial side of your business, they have lots of ideas to connect you with building owners who are looking for help. Visit toproofmarketing.com.
Yeah, it's funny you say, lifting something with your legs instead of your lower lumbar. I was just telling my wife about last week. I was carrying a bucket across the roof, 5-gallon bucket, probably weighed 50 pounds. Do it all the time, and I just went to set it down, and something just in my right lower back. I'm like, uh-oh. When you feel it, you're just like, this is going to be a bad day. And it actually went away over the next couple of days, but I've had that feeling before, and I was out of commission for a few days. So it's definitely something. It's not always like you're trying to move a car or something like that. It can be a simple 5-gallon bucket.
Sure.
So
yeah, I've got clients that they'll tweak their back just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And it's always the silliest thing. You're picking up trash in your front yard and you twist wrong, and all of a sudden, like, your lower lumbar is just like, screaming at you for a few days. So yeah, I mean, that's another reason why it's so, I think, good to lift in general. Obviously, I'm biased because I like lifting. I think lifting, there's a ton of benefits to lifting, and one of them is just being less susceptible to injury out in the real world. Just being a little bit more durable in real life. And that's something that's sort of a byproduct that we don't usually think of when we think of people that go to the gym frequently. Usually we think they might be doing it for vain purposes or just to look a certain way, but that's a nice byproduct of being able to move freely without limitation, and you're less likely to hurt yourself.
Yep.
Day to day.
So do you suggest any activities that one should do before starting a work day? Stretching, walking, activity?
I like active stretching. So active stretching is just doing something pertaining to stretching, but with some movement within it. So, an example might be like just a set of squats, body weight squats or something. A lot of times with our clients, we're looking for, kind of minimum effective dose, because we're working with people that are really busy. They've got busy lives. A lot of them have kids and, responsibilities and things like that. So we might say, if it takes a moment for your coffee to brew in the morning, let's do like 10 to 15 body weight squats. Just kind of wake up the body a little bit. It's a multi-joint movement. You're working pretty much the entire body when you do something like that. And that's something that, if you can bake it into your routine and it's consistent, that stuff adds up. It'll compound on itself over time. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do necessarily like 10 sets or anything like that, but just something as simple as that, extending your arms over your head, when you wake up, just getting the blood flow moving and kind of raising your core body temperature a little bit, getting some blood flow into the shoulders and the upper extremities. Yep. Not a bad idea.
Yep. Maybe it's more information you want to know, but typically when I'm done with my shower, but before I hop out, I try to do toe touches.
Okay.
It's kind of a stupid little thing, but usually when I'm bending down, I'm like, I'm still 6 inches from my toes. I need to get down to like 1 inch from my toes. And so some days are better than others, but I do notice that I wake up faster. My blood starts flowing a lot faster. I always have a better day when I do that. When I'm on a few days without doing a stretch like that, it just seems to not start off as well.
You feel a little bit more stiff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a ritual, like, and those are the things, like working out now for me, I have kind of like my set schedule, and some days are shorter than others, but I think just having that routine put in place, like if you're doing it on a regular basis, it's a great idea.
So can focusing on the health, improve contractor crew safety, like just the safety of a crew? How does that play in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can. If somebody's being, like, let's say, somebody's working, they've already got a pretty demanding job. If they're going to the gym, like if they want to lift and kind of improve their body composition, beyond just the working, there will definitely be some translation from lifting to what they're doing for a living. I mean, not only from a strength perspective, but kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, like they're going to be less susceptible to injury. Their joints are going to be a little bit more resilient. Even if they do tweak something, they're going to recover faster. So if somebody's like working out in the gym, 3 days a week, or maybe just on the weekends because they gotta, maybe they don't necessarily have the energy to do it after a full day of contracting or roofing, that will definitely transfer over to their work day. And I think, it's you can have a pretty demanding job and still wake up and be really, really stiff in the morning, depending on how you're moving. So if somebody is moving regularly in the gym, they may be working and practicing on their movement and, you know, doing things like lifting with their posterior chain, their lower half, their legs. And, you know, if they're getting stronger in the gym, then it's a pretty good indicator that they're going to be much stronger in real life situations too.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's definitely some transferability there.
You know, I'm thinking the question was about focusing on health and making it crew safely. Does it actually enhance safety? So I'm thinking, you know, maybe two guys are carrying a heavy roll across the roof. Well, you're depending on that other guy. He's not going to give out on you. You know, his back's not going to give out on him, or he's going to be too weak, or he's going to stumble, or he's going to lose breath or something like that. So,
Sure.
I mean, you're counting on that guy next to you to do his job for you both to be safe. So you got to be healthy.
Yeah, it's almost a level of competency, you know, like they have to at least be conditioned enough to do the job well and do it consistently too, right? Because you're doing it day after day.
Yep. Contractors are busy, which sometimes means they don't always sleep well. I know I sleep pretty well, but I think I might have some sleep apnea. I've just never been tested. You know, you wake up in the middle of the day, you're kind of tired, and I've had people say, well, you don't really enter your deep sleep, but I sleep 6-7 hours and I wake up before my alarm, so I feel rested. But you know, there's probably some sleep apnea there. But I know I do talk to a lot of contractors, and they say, yeah, because of some, you know, stress or whatever, busy, they don't sleep well. How does sleep play a part in overall health?
Well, it's probably a pretty good indicator that you're waking up before your alarm. So that may mean you're waking up on that cycle where you've got that restorative sleep.
And it's funny that I've been working harder the last 30 days than I have all year, and I require less sleep. And it seems like when I am in the office and I don't really work that hard, I need more sleep.
It may just be those feelings of lethargy. You're just feeling a little bit more lethargic. I mean, sometimes I think if we're busier, life is kind of moving at a higher frequency. So we're just more alert, you know, because the things that are kind of coming our way. But sleep is huge. Sleep, you know, beyond the gym, it's incredibly important for overall health. Every single system of the body is repairing itself and restoring itself when we sleep. So I think in the last 10 years, especially like with entrepreneurial culture, there's been a lot of like memes, saying I'll sleep when I'm dead, essentially.
Yeah.
Just kind of,
I've said that before.
yeah. It's just, I have too, like it's just grind it out, and entrepreneurial types are busy. So they may work and neglect sleep, and that may backfire eventually. So, I mean, not just from like a body perspective, but it's also incredibly important for our brain. Our brain is resting and repairing itself, and all the systems of the body. So it's incredibly important from an overall health perspective, but also from a safety perspective. If you've got a contractor out on a roof and he hasn't gotten a good night's sleep, that could almost be a dangerous situation. So, in lifting culture, they talk about sleep a lot. That's something that kind of comes up a lot, because that's really when the magic is happening. That's when your body is repairing itself, your muscle fibers are repairing themselves. So I'm a big fan of sleep, and I usually tell people, shoot for around that 6.5, 7 hour. Let that be the minimum amount. If you can get more, great. I know some people, they'll sleep for 8 hours and that really throws them off their game. It's almost like 7 or 9. So there's definitely, depending on the person, they're going to have different restorative sleep cycles that they can enter in. And sometimes you get more throughout the night, and some people will get more, within a cycle of sleep, traditional sleep at night. But yeah, it's incredibly important. We're always trying to help our people.
So here's a question. Some of that just boils down to self-awareness, right? Like, you've got to be aware, maybe test it out and say, I'm going to try to get X amount of hours of sleep these few days, and then I'm going to try a few more and a few more. Because I think I'm one of those people that I'm not really aware. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but like sometimes I'll say, man, I don't feel good. I got, heartburn. I got this. And somebody will ask me, well, what did you eat? I don't remember. Like,
Yeah.
I don't correlate what I ate with now I'm feeling
How you're
bad.
feeling?
Yeah. It's like, I'm not really self-aware. And I notice some people are very self-aware. They're like, oh, well, when I eat this, I feel this way. And when I feel this, same thing with sleep. Well, when I get this many hours of sleep, I feel better or worse, and I think there's a lot of people, including myself, I just don't know where my target, because it's different for everybody, right? I know some people that thrive on 4 or 5 hours. I mean, thrive on 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
And so speak to how we can be more self-aware on knowing where our body needs to be.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's something that, especially online, we're working with people online. And so that's a big, that's a big initial step that we're trying to reach when we start. We're trying to basically incorporate mindfulness, but mindfulness is just another word for self-awareness in a lot of cases. So self-awareness is huge, and sleep plays a role in that. I think sometimes it just happens, through the nature of being an adult. You get 6 hours one night and you get 8 hours one night, and you're like, man, I feel a lot better after having 8 hours of sleep. It's like, okay, well, you should probably shoot for a little bit more than 6 usually. And then people kind of find their sweet spot. But I mean, I like what you said about food, because that's huge. That's the game right there, right? So we're trying, when we first start working with somebody, especially from a nutrition standpoint, where we're just trying to look at their nutrition and see what they're consuming day to day, we're trying to determine what it is they're eating, how it makes them feel, how it's fueling their life. Is it supporting what their overall goal is? If they have like a goal of theirs, like it's body recomposition, or we're trying to burn body fat and that sort of thing. So once we start tracking the food, that's usually where we build that mindfulness and that self-awareness. Because once we start tracking, we take an objective look at what somebody's consuming day to day, then we can go, oh, okay, well, we ate this Snickers bar at 1 o'clock on a Monday, and you were just tapped out of energy by that afternoon. Well, that's because you got a big insulin spike and then a big dip, because we've got processed carbohydrates, processed fat, sugar, which is more carbohydrates. So it makes sense why you're going to have that big, you're going to get a little bit of energy surge from, the sugar, and then just immediately crash. So, we might, in knowing that and becoming more self-aware, then we might make adjustments. We might say, okay, in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, we're going to try something a little bit lighter. Like maybe we should try like a chicken wrap, or a piece of fruit that tides you over after work, something a little bit lighter, but won't have, give you that insulin spike and then that immediate crash. So I think self-awareness is huge in almost any avenue, but it's a big part of what I do.
And it's funny, people get really self-aware when the side effects get really bad, right? People that are have gluten allergies or lactose, then they're like,
absolutely,
holy cow, I can't keep nothing down, or I'm breaking out, or then they're like, go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, you're glucose intolerant, or sometimes I'll have a milkshake or ice cream, and I'm not a big ice cream eater, but sometimes I do, and I pay for it. And my wife's like, you probably should get checked out. You might be lactose intolerant. And I'm like, I don't want to know. I enjoy it too much.
I'd rather not know. I'd rather just not be aware.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Like sometimes, like self-awareness just smacks you in the face. And it's funny because my girlfriend, like she has, I think, pretty sure she has a slight lactose intolerance. And it's funny because she has tracked her food to the point where she knows like down to what type of cheese she can have versus what type of cheese she can have. And that happens all the time. Sometimes we'll work with somebody and they'll say, yeah, just like I was going to the bathroom pretty much all day long and I don't know what it is. And then you look through their food and it's like they had ice cream and dairy and Alfredo sauce the night before. It's like, you might want to cut the dairy for just a second. Let's run an experiment here, in the interest of self-awareness. And let's cut the dairy and then see how you feel the next day. And then we'll track that as well. We'll make sure to make note of how you're feeling the following day. If you feel great.
Life's full of trade-offs, right? Like,
exactly.
I'll hear some people be like, I really like this one thing, but I can only have it once a month because it tears me up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the trade-off, right? I mean, sometimes the pizza is worth it.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
so yeah, I mean, I say that to my people all the time. There are trade-offs. Sometimes we give up something so that we can have something that we actually want.
Yep. So how can people focus on their health without, because like health is so intricately tied with our diet. Now, when I say diet, I don't mean like we're going on a diet. Like everybody has a diet. It's what
Right.
their routine they're already following, their diet.
Right.
So
What we eat.
yeah, what you eat. So our health is already tied to our diet. How can people focus on their health without actually focusing on a diet?
Yeah. Without like doing a traditional diet.
Yeah.
Or following, kind of the pitfalls of restrictive dieting and
Yeah.
kind of the yo-yo effect.
'Cause I know roofers that are listening to this aren't going to die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not
Yeah.
what they do.
Totally fair.
But they still want to focus on their health. I mean, they don't want to have congestive heart failure. They don't want to have clogged arteries.
Yeah.
What can we do to make sure that we're at least somewhat healthy?
Yeah. And it goes back to that trade-off, the thing you mentioned earlier. And I think with diet specifically, we may not necessarily want to eat nothing but fruits and vegetables all the time. That's certainly not what I do, but we're still thinking longevity, right? We're thinking, okay, I want to watch my kids grow up. I want to be able to move freely. I don't want to necessarily get injured and be immobile at that point. And, there's freedom in that. And I think food is directly tied to that. And so I think, diet plays a massive role. What we consume day to day plays a massive role in how we feel, how it fuels our lives, and then ultimately our overall health. So, but, to answer your question more specifically, oftentimes I'm thinking like minimum effective dose. If somebody doesn't necessarily want to track their food, track their every calorie, eat as clean as possible, there's definitely some easy foundational stuff that I usually tell people. And it's like maybe one of four things. Focus on lean sources of protein. So occasionally have some grilled chicken. You can have red meat too. I mean, I eat steak, I eat, pork products sometimes, lean ground beef, ground turkey, that sort of thing. Those are going to be like your pillars of lean protein, even things like eggs and Greek yogurt and stuff like that. And then try to consume as many fruits and veggies as possible, because you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck with those food items, because those are voluminous food items. You can eat a lot of them, but they don't account for a whole lot of calories. So, I'll grab a couple of bananas and take them with me to the gym. Sometimes I'll have a little bit more fruit. Sometimes an apple as well. And you're talking, those three items are going to be under 300 calories. So it's not a lot. It's a lot of food for not a lot of calories.
Yep.
And then whole grains. So even things like white rice, potatoes, those are going to be, still healthy starches in appropriate amounts. If you're loading them up with butter and sour cream and bacon, that's just adding more calories to a starch. So, everything in moderation. I know that's kind of a cliche phrasing as well, but you can do a little bit of that stuff. But I mean, potato is a healthy starch, rice is a healthy starch, whole grain pasta, whole wheat bread, those types of things.
Let's put this in perspective for the guys that are on this show, for roofers. Fast food joint. I had a buddy a while ago. He's pretty good at watching his health, and he would get a cheeseburger and a drink at McDonald's, and the other guy got a salad. Maybe it wasn't McDonald's. It was some fast food joint, and the guy's like, "Can't believe you talk about health and you're having a cheeseburger." And he goes, "Well, that salad is less healthy for you than this is." And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "How can you figure it?" He goes, "You putting 2 packets of dressing on that thing. You got all this other junk on there. People just think, oh, because it's salad, it's more healthy." But
right, exactly.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, right? Like,
you can
actually watch what you
you're
eat.
right on. Because I mean, it's funny because I think Wendy's, their salads are more than their hamburgers. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all relative. You can have a salad and load it up with everything under the sun and tons of dressing as well, which is loaded with calories and fat most of the time. So yeah, I mean, it's all relative. I mean, a cheeseburger in the grand scheme of a healthy diet, especially for an active person, not that bad. I mean, if you take the individual parts, you're getting a little bit of protein, you're getting starch in the bun, and then maybe some vegetables and lettuce and tomato. So yeah, I mean, everything within, the grand scheme of a diet, you can have a burger every once in a while, especially if you're active.
Yep. And going back to salads, I mean, everybody eats them different. So I see some people, they put just a little bit of dressing on there. Me, I've got to have every leaf like saturated, grounded in dressing. I don't eat salad very much, but when I do, that's probably a good thing that I don't eat it very often, because I just drench it in probably 3 times more dressing than I need.
Totally fair.
So doesn't make it healthy anymore.
I mean, you can always get the dressing on the side.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So fitness doesn't always have to be working out, right? So what are some other ways people can focus on fitness without working out?
Well, you could definitely become a roofer. I mean, that's an active job right there, or a contractor. I mean, but to speak to your question, I think, just having an active lifestyle, like sometimes just like my dad, my parents, they have a relatively big yard, and he loves to work out in the yard. I think that's his exercise of choice.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't lift weights, but I think he gets a ton of exercise. He's out there during the week, on the weekends. So, I mean, just doing things around the house, cleaning your house is great exercise, going up and down stairs, taking the stairs. If you're going to the grocery store, maybe park far away, so you get a few extra steps in, counting your steps. That would be considered, non-exercise activity, but it's still activity that you're doing and incorporating in your life. Playing a sport, maybe you can join a rec league, play softball or basketball with your friends. Just, trying to incorporate activity into your life is always going to be a good idea. We're human. I mean, human beings are meant to move. We're creatures that are built, our structure is meant to move. It's not meant to sit for the majority of the day. So there's a bit of an evolutionary mismatch there with people sitting for 9 or 9.5 hours a day. That's just too much.
Yep.
And I think, the compensation effect is the negative health effects when we do sit for the majority of the day. So if we can just get up and start moving at all, and, taking the time to be thankful for the fact that we can move, with relative ease, with no injuries, and no pain. That's something to kind of keep in mind too. So yes, incorporating movement in any way.
So I did a program last fall called, you may have heard of it, called 75 Hard.
Mm-hmm. Andy Frisella? Did he come up with that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think so. Where it's and I can't even remember. It's exercise for 1 hour a day outside, and it can be your activity of choice.
Cool.
And then read 30 minutes of an entrepreneurial or business book. Drink a gallon of water, which for somebody that doesn't drink a lot of water, you don't realize how much a gallon is a day. And then there was one last thing.
Is there no sugar? There's one about diet.
I don't think that one was in there, because I definitely would have failed. But there was 4 things, and you're supposed to go 75 days to doing this, right?
Right.
And you usually you put into a Facebook group to keep you accountable. And my choice was to ride a bike every day. I rode a bike for it's 45 minutes. You got to do it for 45 minutes. So I rode my bike for 45 minutes every day, and that was kind of fun for me, because I'm not much of a runner or even a lifter, and so I enjoyed riding my bike, and then I'd have my my water, and then I would read an entrepreneurial book. But it really got challenging too, because one day it was like, well, it's raining outside, so I got on my post at like 8:30 at night, and I'm like, well, it was like day 11. I'm like, well, it's raining outside, and the guy that started the group, he's like, doesn't say, yeah, that's what he basically. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So I went on. I did my 45 minutes in the rain with my bike, and my nephew seen me. And
nice.
A couple of days later, my nephew's like, "What in the world are you riding your bike in the rain for? Doing circles in the high school parking lot?" And I told him I'm doing this program, and so
it's called 75 Hard, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Not 75 Easy.
That's right. But that was really where it hit me. It's like, I'm doing this challenge because it's cool and I can do it. But then when you hit a roadblock, like, I don't like getting wet. I really don't. I've kind of got to be a soft as I got older, and I used to work in the rain all the time. But now I'm older. It's like, I don't like getting wet. And so go out that was a mental roadblock that I had to like get over. And I had to have accountability partner to be like, toughen up, wuss, and go do, you signed up for this, go do it. And so, and I think that's with a lot of the stuff we're just talking for the last 20 minutes is, we know it's the right thing for us to do. We know we want to be there for our kids and our grandkids 20 years from now, but we just don't do it. And we got to get over that mental block to say, no, it's the right thing to do. And I have bigger things at stake. So,
well, it's good that you had an accountability partner.
Yeah.
I mean, accountability is huge. That's essentially what our online coaching is. And most of the time people think it's like, we're going to give them this magic answer, but really we're just kind of holding their feet to the fire. It's that accountability. And you built that, I think one of the things, 75 hard, you're supposed to hit those roadblocks, right? Because then you build that mental resiliency. It's like, this isn't going to be as comfortable as the days prior, but I'm going to do it anyways because I'm being held accountable and, I signed up for it. So yeah, that's great.
Yep. So before we close here, this is what I always do, try to ask any of my guests is one practical tip. Give us one practical tip that, I know it's Friday, so we'll talk about Monday. One practical tip that the listeners can employ Monday to make their life healthier or their body more healthy or more fitness.
Yeah, that's a good one. I tell people this all the time, and I'll just say, go for a 20-minute walk. Do it outside if you can. I mean, we're just now into fall, so I think most places you can still get a good walk in. It might actually be kind of therapeutic because there's some nice scenery around, and hopefully the weather's good. But there's so many benefits to walking beyond just the physical health, but also the mental health aspect as well. And there's something nice about just moving forward without any limitations, without pain, and getting all the auditory stimulation and the new visuals. Sometimes like you can just walk through your neighborhood and see new things, and it's like it takes your mind off of all the craziness of things that are happening in our day to day. So that seems like an overly simplistic answer for some people, I'm sure. Like definitely getting in the routine of physical activity is something I would definitely recommend to people in any way, however they can get it. But for a really good practical application, I'd say go for a 20-minute walk on Monday and, just try to enjoy yourself.
Okay, cool. And lift with your legs.
Yeah, lift with your legs. Yeah, keep it in the heels. Do not lift with your lower back. Nope, That's not a good idea.
So, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us today, Kyle. It means a lot. I know
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, these are fun.
Very good. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you or ask you a question, you want to leave maybe a way to contact you or?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can do it a number of different ways. I'm on all the socials and all the social media stuff, but I mean, people can email me if they want to. My email is kyledevlinfitness@gmail.com. I get, people ask me questions randomly on social media all day. So feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. And if you want to know more about Better Self Nutrition, our online coaching service, you can just go to betterselfnutrition.com and all the information's there.
Okay, awesome. Well, you have a great weekend. And once again, thanks for being on the show with us.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.